How many different nationalities are there in this room? 5? 10? As I was brainstorming what to talk about in this TED Talk, I immediately thought, oh, it's simple. I've moved so much from school to school, country to country, that I can easily talk about not fitting in different communities. I mean, it's not very hard to guess that when I first moved from Brazil to China, I felt like the odd one out, like we all do. After all, although I was in international school, I was surrounded by Chinese people with different customs. But no, I don't want to talk about not fitting in different communities. I want to discuss the idea of feeling like the odd one out, even in our own community. Throughout my life, I can confidently say that I have been and am part of the sports community, the Portuguese community, the international and academic community. Ever since I was little, sports have been a big part of my life, hence the sports community. My entire family is Portuguese, the Portuguese community. I have friends from all around the world, international, and so on. Is it possible that after all these years of being part of several different communities, I could feel like I didn't belong in my own? The answer is yes. Let's first start thinking about what components make you part of a community. Is it the people you hang out with? The country you live in? Similar interests you have? The word community is defined by the Oxford Dictionary as a group of people living in the same place or sharing a particular characteristic in common. When students at DAA were asked what first comes to their mind when they think of the word community, this is what they said. Is it just a symbiotic relationship? People who support each other? People who are united? This word evidently has several different interpretations. Let's first dive into the sports community. I've been playing tennis, basketball, volleyball, football, and I'm now part of 2 teams here at DAA. Even though this is true, at times I still feel like I don't belong. And I want to share a story with you all. When I was in Brazil, and the basketball team had just won gold in a tournament, there were 2 members of the team who had a math major the next morning. They asked me if it would be possible to send them last year's test, knowing that the teacher didn't change them, and I, rather than staying true to my values and principles, sent them the test. Obviously with the intention of helping my teammates, but also so that I felt like I had more connections to the team. However, it was when I got home and was no longer blindly peer pressured to do certain things or to pretend to be someone that I immediately regretted my action. Not because I had helped my teammates, but because I had done so that they would like me better. It's hard to fight against that feeling, especially when trying to fit into a community you should fit in due to similar interests or characteristics, but you really don't. However, it was once I stopped trying to be someone I was not and demonstrated my authentic self that I truly felt like sports was my own community. Now, when going to games, while my teammates are singing songs at the back of the bus, I'm at the front studying for tests. While in MISAC, they're talking or doing other things in between games, I'm having my Mandarin class. Even though I am the odd one out in that sense, I'm still able to feel like I belong. This is because all of my teammates support me and respect and encourage me to do what I believe to be best for me. We shouldn't change our priorities based on who we're surrounded by and set aside other things that are important to us. In my case, my grades and my learning. And because this has become such a common practice, the idea of playing a sport is often associated with being less academically inclined. For example, a very academic friend of mine once said that she thought I could never be her friend because I played sports. Yet it's all about staying true to your principles and being authentic. Like Steve Jobs said, your time is limited, so don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't let the noise of other people drown out your inner voice, and most importantly, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. Let's move into a broader community. I've lived in 4 different countries: Portugal, Brazil, China, and United Arab Emirates. If you'd ask me, Although I've lived most of my life outside of Portugal, I'm a fully Portuguese citizen whose entire family is Portuguese. Every break, I go to Portugal and try to enjoy my family as much as possible. Not only that, I'm sure we can all relate to this. According to the International World Migration Reports, there are more than 281 million migrants around the world. In Portugal, this applies for 20% of the population, of which 50% haven't lived there for the past 10 years. So it's when I go back to my home country, Portugal, which is my own community, I find that it's hard to connect to my friends because of all of the different experiences I've had. They're all talking about certain things that I just can't relate to, and vice versa. Even though we speak the same language, have similar interests, and have known each other for years, my experiences are strong enough to make me feel like I don't belong. Not only that, but these extend into other aspects of my life. For example, even though I'm fully European, I tend to be surrounded by Asian people, given that my group of friends is mostly Asian, despite having only lived in China for less than 2 years. Furthermore, a really close friend of mine once said that even though she's Russian, she feels as if she were Chinese. This is because she has lived in China for more than 10 years. And that's okay. We shouldn't force ourselves to fit into what should be our community. Hence, I argue that being part of a community is not just about sharing similar interests or characteristics, but rather feeling like you belong to those places. No matter how popular we are or how much we're trying to fit in, we'll always feel like we don't belong at an aspect of our life. In fact, those who look like they belong the most on the outside are often the ones who feel odd on the inside. This is because we don't just belong to one community. We each have a blend of different experiences that make up who we are, and that's what makes us so unique. Our experiences and values shape whether we feel like the odd one out or not. You may have played sports your entire life, but at times feel like the odd one out in sports, or maybe Russian, but feel like you belong to another culture. This brings diversity to the groups we belong to, and that diversity is enriching and what brings positive changes to our communities. It is diversity in sports that brings unity, diversity in academics that brings knowledge, diversity in knowledge is what brings innovation, and diversity in different geographies what promotes cultural enrichment. So enjoy being odd. Thank you.